Hi, you're watching Current Issues. My name is Vineet Malhotra. The tensions between India and Pakistan are soaring. One of the suggestions made by BJP leader Yashwant Sinha is to look at water as a possible source of weapon and war. And now, according to our sources, Prime Minister Modi, in a meeting with the officials of Water Resources Ministry, has said that blood and water cannot go hand in hand. The implications are clear, but it begs the question that what India can and should do next. The Indus Water Treaty of 1960 has gone through 3 wars between these two countries without disruption. Can we actually convince the world for abrogating this treaty unilaterally? But the flip side is that Pakistan has consistently backed away from bilateral agreements with India, from the Shimla Agreement to the commitment not to allow its territory for cross-border terrorism. So why should India honor the Indus Water Treaty? The threat that China also has the option of stopping the flow of Brahmaputra river water into India is a cause of worry, and India should not forget as where the loyalty of China lies. Let's delve into this debate. Let me also start and take this opportunity by welcoming our guest to the show. With me in the studio is Mr. Ashok Sarjana, former diplomat. Sir, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Dr. Vedic, International Affairs Analyst, is also joining us. Dr. Vedic, thank you so much for joining us. And Sheetal Sharma, International Affairs Expert, is also with us in this debate. Okay, Mr. Sarjana, let me start with you. A very simple and a plain Jane question for you, sir. Why do you think, if you think, we should abrogate this treaty, sir?
You know, right from the first day when we have started talking about the Indus Water Treaty between India and Pakistan that was signed in 1960, my position has been that the treaty should not be abrogated. But you know, let us also realize that having a treaty and not having a treaty, there is a, one is white and the other is black. There are many shades of grey in between. And I have always maintained that we have possibilities of taking action which is much short of abrogation. Because you did mention the point that China is an upper riparian as far as Brahmaputra is concerned, so they can also stop it. I would of course here like to mention and inform your viewers that number one, we do not have any agreement between India and China, and number two, they do not even supply the most rudimentary hydrological data to us, but that part being what it is. The other thing is that we have a number of rights under the Indus Water Treaty, and we have not utilized those rights. So we are well within our right to use the waters of the 3 rivers. You know, I'm sure your listeners are aware that the western rivers, that is Indus, Jhelum and Chenab, their waters flow into Pakistan, and Pakistan has all the right to use them. While as far as we are concerned, the eastern rivers, that is Ravi, Chenab and Sutlej, these are flowing into our part, into Jammu and Kashmir and Punjab, and we have to satisfy ourselves with that. The second point is that it is only about 19.5% of the total waters that come to us, and more than 80% of the waters that go to Pakistan. Now, there is a provision in the treaty that we can use the waters of the western rivers for our non-consumptive use, that is for irrigation, for electricity generation, power generation, and for transportation.
Right.
We have not really been using, and we have the possibility of storage of about 3.62 million acre feet out of the western rivers. We have not been using that. Reason is basically because whenever India starts doing something, even which is within the provisions of the treaty, then Pakistan always raises an objection. And so, like in the case of responding to the terror attacks, here also we have been following a strategic restraint. The final point that I would like to make is that we have many provisions which we can utilize. Number one, it will give more water to Jammu and Kashmir. It is their long-standing demand that they are not getting enough water because all the water is going to Pakistan. Number two, we will be well within the provisions of the treaty, and we will be able to satisfy our people. So we don't need to abrogate it. We need to use it fully to the extent that is available.
We need to know it well enough in order to tweak it. Dr. Vedic, coming to you. Sir, do you think, a water war with Pakistan is probably going to be, the worst thing that can happen to Pakistani economy, because 20% of Pak's GDP is because of the water that they receive through this treaty. 90% of Pakistan's agriculture is supported by this treaty. So Pakistan will not be playing its cards well if this treaty is abrogated by India.
Well, I personally feel abrogation of this treaty is not on our agenda. What the government has decided is to utilize the water that is our portion of the treaty as it says. So I don't think we are doing anything which is named as threatening to Pakistan or blackmailing Pakistan, or we are trying to misuse our means to harass Pakistan. We should have done it long ago. But you see, doing it now would have several political implications. Pakistanis would make noises all over the world and would tell the world that India is trying to harass them. Really speaking, what we are doing now is to utilize our portion of the deal. There is no harm in it. In fact, the government has taken a very restrained decision. But you see, in my view, this is only pinpricks for Pakistan. What we should have done is to eliminate their terror camps. Instead of, they are using a knife against us and we are using pinpricks against them. This is not the proper way. Diplomatically, it is all right. We can apply some more pressures. Even trade can be affected, visa and travel can be affected. There are so many other things that we can do. But you see, we must have a wholesome strategy. This is using water, more water, is not a very sound strategic action by our government. Our government should have a very solid view of the entire situation and must take a big political decision what to do with Pakistan.
Okay, Sheetal, coming to you, what to do with Pakistan? It seems to me that this is a good pact, but with a bad country. Pak has not honored any of the bilateral agreements that we have had with them in the past. If you talk about the Shimla agreement, how do you think it can selectively demand India's compliance with just one agreement because it benefits Pakistan?
Vineet, when we talk about this water agreement, particularly Indus Treaty, in the entire backdrop of things which have happened since September 16, the attack on army camps, or further going back in the past in Pathankot and Gurdaspur, and you can have a list going back deep into the history. Now suddenly I see, it has become a case of bullets versus water. Now, if we talk about water treaty, compliance and all that on international scene at the global level, India has always been compliant to, whatever treaties, whatever rules and obligations India needs to fulfill at the global level, and Pakistan has absolutely shown the opposite of what India does. Now, suddenly this issue of, taking a kind of revenge, or Pakistan must be taught a lesson for what they have done in Kashmir on 16th of September. Water appears somewhere in a kind of, in a scene where it does not seem to be a befitting reply to Pakistan. What will happen, in my opinion, it would give a contrary image to the world that somehow India is lowering itself down to different kind of tactics. We are in case of some rivers, we are in the middle riparian part or in the upper riparian part. But that does not help India, going back on the treaty, or as your first question was, abrogating treaty would not help India in any case. In fact, it would lower down our strength, our diplomatic strength, which we are about to gain at the international level. Now, what will happen if we go back on treaty? China would certainly jump in, because China has control over Brahmaputra also, and on some of the rivers on the eastern and on the western part of, say, Jammu and Kashmir as well. Now,
Okay.
what will happen when China enters? There will be a triangle.
Right.
And that would further complicate the already tense relationship in South Asia. So, in my opinion, what we need to do, we need to treat water treaties separately. If
So
we are not
we
fully
are running out of
utilizing, that
options.
is a separate story. We can take
You know,
this
Pakistan
issue
has a
apart
nuclear
from what we are
deterrent.
doing.
We do not
Yes.
want to conduct
It's not-
strategic strikes. We cannot have guerrilla warfare. All those things are very, very risky. Mr. Sajana, sir, coming back to you, when the Supreme Court orders the Karnataka government to release water to Tamil Nadu, you know, that created a huge furor and a ruckus, and we are talking about releasing water to a sworn enemy. Sir, please elaborate the dichotomy in this philosophy that exists.
You see, let me put it this way, as you know, the other panelists have also said, that India is a responsible global power, and our global profile, prestige, image is growing. And as a global power, we have to be supportive of international law. And if we are going to break international law, then it would be at our cost.
But why
Now,
only us, sir? Why only us? Why can't Pakistan also be put in the same benchmark?
you see, Pakistan has been criticized by the whole world community, international community. Now, as far as we are concerned, we have to take certain measures to protect ourselves. So, as far as water treaty is concerned, and again this point was made, it should not be a single point agenda. I think it has to be one of the options, one of the several options, and there are a number of options in our armory. We have to have the political will to use some of them. Even this one has been there, and here we just start using what is due to us as per the provisions of the treaty. We don't need to violate it, we don't need to abrogate it, because you see, another point that has been made, one is of course that we need to not only follow international law, but also need to be seen to be following international law, observing international law. After all, this treaty in 1960 was brought together with the participation, with the assistance, with the support of the World Bank.
Of course.
So it's not only India and Pakistan, there are other international agencies also that are involved. The second part is that if we say we abrogate it, that means we do not allow any water to flow to Pakistan. What do we do with the water? You know, we do not have storage facilities. It is run of the river water that is going to Pakistan. So first, if you start making projects to dam the rivers and to block the rivers, it's going to take a long time. So I think there are those sort of problems also. But along with water, whether it is the grant of the MFN treatment to Pakistan, maybe again people might say that our bilateral trade, at least legal trade, because the illegal trade, smuggling, etc. is much more than the legal trade. So legal trade is not all that much, so it will not have that much of a significance. But I think symbolically it will send a very strong message in terms of the action that India is taking. Of course, there is no substitute in my view to some sort of a military action. And I think there also there are other experts who are present, who are advising the government. But I think we need to go down that road also, because as the Prime Minister said, the mood of the country today is one that prevailed in 1965. There is of course grief, but there is also anger. And I think people of the country, citizens of the country, want to see some action on the ground, some military action on the ground, short of a full-scale war.
Absolutely. Retribution and redemption is probably on everybody's mind. Dr. Vede, coming back to you. Sir, you know, a lot of people feel, you know, in 1960, 80% of the resource of these rivers was, you know, gifted, as to say, by the then government of Pakistan. And, you know, a lot of people also are of the opinion that that probably stalled Jammu and Kashmir's industrial growth. Do you concur with that, sir?
Well, I personally feel letting Pakistan have water would not really create a bad blood between us. Let them have water. That's what our government has decided today. We are not stopping water flow to Pakistan. What we are doing is to utilize the rest of the water in a better way. We can do it. But how does it bring any pressure on Pakistan? There is no pressure on Pakistan. And you see, Pakistan should have been taught a lesson. When they attack our military establishment, we should have reacted instantly, immediately, and that would have given us a big leverage in international diplomacy. Now, whatever we are doing, it is too late. And now if you say that you will be building dams on our rivers, it will take years, you see. So what kind of pressure are you bringing on Pakistan? And as I said earlier, there should be a wholesome strategy. If they start stabbing us in the back and we do some pinpricks, how does it matter? It is not a befitting reply. So I personally feel that the government of India should put its all efforts together, seek advice from the old experts, and should make a wholesome strategy. I am so surprised that our Prime Minister did not speak to the Pakistani Prime Minister on phone, and the Pakistani Prime Minister is not spoken so far to our Prime Minister on phone. They talk to each other on phone, they exchange their gifts and all that, they go to each other. But on this occasion, why they are not talking to each other? They should talk to each other, and our Prime Minister should advise the Pakistani Prime Minister to destroy those camps. And if they are not able to destroy their camps because of political compulsions, internal compulsions, we should help them.
Right.
As Osama bin Laden was killed by the Americans, do you think Americans could kill him without Asif Zardari's consent? They should consent, and we will take action, and that would ultimately help both countries, India and Pakistan. Suppose these are non-state actors, these terrorists. So, and Pakistan cannot touch them. The Pakistani government had its own majburi. Their army has its own majburi. All right, we will help you. We will kill these terrorists, and it will help everybody, entire subcontinent.
Right.
It will help entire South Asia to become almost like a European Union. There would be a peace. All the terrorists should go and negotiations should start.
Absolutely, sir. Let's take a caller at this point in time. We have Shiv Kumar who's giving us a call from Mumbai. Shiv, what do you have to say? Okay, seems like we've lost the connection with Shiv. Sheetal, coming back to you, China has always been in the equation, like, our respected panelists also mentioned, that the triangle that is usually created when India and Pakistan have some sort of a dialogue before war hits out. Should we consider how China might react if we do contemplate, abrogating this treaty? Should we worry about what China is going to do? They probably can, follow suit and, block the Brahmaputra from flowing into India.
Vineet, in my opinion, this is not for the first time that naming and shaming of Pakistan has happened at the international level. Now, they have become so shameless that despite the fact that you give them dossier after dossier or proof after proof, they will not accept the fact. Now, Pakistan state itself is like a hydra, you have so many heads, whom do you talk to, non-state actors or non-acting states. There are so many things and so many heads which are guiding the action vis-a-vis India. Now, Pakistan gains strength only from the fact that it can rope in its neighbors like China or currently Russia. At one point of time they said we are not going to hold a joint exercise, but then they said it's only in POK. All sorts of things are happening, at the same time. Now, these things add a very complex character to the already tense diplomatic relationship between countries in South Asia and particularly in Asia, say China, India, Pakistan, and then Russia getting involved in all these things. Now, thank God other countries are out of it. But then what has happened is, that if suddenly why this water is coming into existence or even seen as an option. Suppose we are not utilizing the water, we may utilize it. Since 60 times and the need of consumption of water has changed in both the states, in Jammu and Kashmir, the Srinagar, the city, the population has grown so much and the needs are now different as compared to the past. So, we must envisage to utilize water, the resources which are available to us to develop hydroelectric project, dams and all those things. That's a separate story. But if we take this action, this might be a right action for the people of Jammu and Kashmir, but it would be taken at a wrong time. And it would be construed as something that we are not looking into the eye of the problem, but we are looking all around to look at the escape routes first and then not hitting at the head of the nail, but doing something which may not be seen as a befitting reply. As I had earlier said, that a military action would have been responded by or through military action only. But if we have taken time, now we must have different means to answer Pakistan rather than using all these things. And one more thing, we might not rotate the regulator as hard as we are seeing on media, or we are talking about, or we are contemplating, but the message that is going across to the other state or to the enemy state, if I can say it clearly, it is much more severe in terms.
Okay.
And you never know that
Okay,
they
Sheetal,
might
let me come back to you.
retaliate without taking any
We have a
action or
caller.
planning
We have a caller by the name of Purnendra who's giving us a call from Delhi. Sir, go ahead.
Hello.
Mr. Purnendra, go ahead. I can hear you.
Yeah, myself, Purendra, I just was. And I have a question to Mr. Ved Prakash Vaidik. That is there any other way? Hello? Is there any other way through which we can just take is there any other way in which by which we can just go in this Indus Water Treaty and we can just have some peace activities and all the things? I think it should be a good process to stop the water for them. Is there any other way by which we can just go to the path of this peace so that the issue can be solved?
Okay, Purnendra, we got the crux of your message. I'll go to Dr. Vaidik, but before that, Mr. Sajjanhar wants to make a brief point. Sir.
Yeah, two very short points that I want to make. Number one, that Pakistan has always been in denial. You look at it, whether it was, right since the time of early 1990s when the terrorist operations started against India, whether it was against the parliament in 2001, in Mumbai in 2008, more recently Pathankot, and now Uri. So first there are, the conversations between the two prime ministers. They have not led anywhere. Even in this case, when they said that it is Pakistani for the Pathankot attack, they said Pakistani terrorists are involved. We even invited their team to come here and have a look. But it has not really helped. So, number one, Pakistan is always in denial. So what Mr. Vaidik is saying that, why did they not talk? I think here even Pakistan has refused to accept. The second point is, I think all of us should forget that there are non-state actors from Pakistan. All these actors who come, they are ones who are provided sanctuaries, those who are given funding, training, support to carry out terrorist attacks against India. This is conducting foreign policy of the country through the means of terrorism, using terrorism as state policy, and that is what the Prime Minister also has said, whether it was in China during the G20 or otherwise. Now, the last point is, we really should have been prepared. There I can agree with the other panelists. We should have been prepared, because for the last 2 years we've been talking, what would India do if there was a repeat of a Mumbai attack? And so the government, the army, our forces, our services should have been prepared, that if such an eventuality occurs, how are we going to respond? And I think we have been found wanting, both in terms of the response as also in terms of protecting ourselves from the border, first Pathankot, then Uri. I think this does not reflect very well, and we really have to really come back, think clearly as to what we need to do and take corrective and preemptive action.
Absolutely. And, Pakistan is probably on a verge where it cannot afford a war with India. Dr. Vaidik, Nawaz Sharif took a loan of $6.6 billion from the IMF, and, they have to repay that loan by the end of this year. And 77% of the budget allocations, which is passed every year in Pakistan, goes towards debt servicing. And if we talk about deterrence, the Indus Water Treaty is probably the best way to cope with Pakistan without having to fire a single bullet. And, we in the past, we have tried every option that is available to a country, sir. Be it being going to war, be it diplomatically, be it escalating these issues on an international level. Pakistan just doesn't seem to learn.
Yeah, you are right. Pakistan is very obstinate about India, and it's the army that exerts undue pressure on the politicians. But as the questionnaire asked me, there are many other ways. First of all, we should have a wholesome strategy. All right, stop water. We are not stopping water. we are trying to utilize the water of our side. We could have stopped it. We could have abrogated not only this treaty, but we have abrogated all our, conduct with Pakistan, our trade, our diplomacy. Diplomats could be withdrawn. We could have asked those countries who are helping Pakistan to sever their relations with Pakistan. Otherwise, we should act even vis-a-vis those countries. We should have a full-throated, action towards Pakistan if you want to bring it to its knees. We should ask all those countries, Saudi Arabia, all these Muslim countries opposed Pakistan. They all condemned this attack on Uri. So we should have asked all these countries to stop their financial aid to Pakistan so long as it keeps the seat warm for the dahshatgards, for the terrorists. If the terrorists are sent by Pakistan to Afghanistan and India, all these countries should be persuaded to stop the aid to Pakistan. We can do many things, We should have a wholesome strategy, and these small pinpricks would bring down our prestige, and it won't affect Pakistanis at all. It would be a kind of rhetoric. It would be a kind of trying to appease or to please our people, so that our people would know that our government is doing something, because the government has totally failed in stopping terrorism. Terrorism cannot be stopped by all these means. We should hit hard, and I am not asking for hitting hard to Pakistan or the Pakistani people or bothering the Pakistani farmers. You should hit the nail at the head. You should hit the Pakistani terrorists who are supported by the army and intelligence. Why don't we do it? We don't take the direct action, and we do all types of notanki indirectly. That won't help us.
Right. Okay, Sheetal, coming to you for closing comments. We don't have much time left on the show. Internationally, India has always upped the ante on the agenda against Pakistan, how it's proliferating terrorism, how it's become the epicenter of terrorism. Abrogating this particular treaty that we have with Pakistan, tell me honestly, will that probably jeopardize our reputation as a world player?
Vineet, it would certainly, because as I had earlier said that naming and shaming of Pakistan has not been done for the first time, but they have stooped down to such a level that they deny everything whatever is shown to them, even you show them the mirror. Now we have we have many things at stake. Our international image, our reputation, although people keep on criticizing that we are coming out as a soft state, but somehow we have an international standing, we have economic relationship with many of the major trading blocs or countries, bilateral relationships.
Absolutely.
If we come down to this level, certainly there would be a greater dent in our image as compared to Pakistan. They have got nothing to lose on the international level.
Absolutely.
See how the US
is planning to declare them
their home and
a
killed
terrorist
Osama.
state.
So they have got nothing to lose.
Exactly.
Yes, almost a terrorist state. Even if you don't declare, everybody understands that what is the origin of international terrorism. For a long period of time, we were at the target, but gradually, one after another, all the cities, all the major countries are now becoming targets
sorry,
of the
we'll have to cut you short,
so
Sheetal. We've run out of time, Sheetal. We'll have to cut you short over here. I'd like to thank all my guests, Dr. Vedic, Sheetal Sharma and Mr. Sajjan Ha for joining us on the show. That is all we have on current issues. We'll see you tomorrow. Keep watching News World India. Thank you.